Hello. I am popping on here to chat about the experience I had last week. And it always amazes me the healing power of community, of connection, and specifically Kundalini yoga. And I know there are other styles of yoga that are also beneficial and other healing modalities. I have training in other modalities myself, and I believe that there's lots of access points to support our ability to heal. And some of you know me and the experiences I've had for the last few years, and this thing that just kept lingering and struggling to heal from. And I remember feeling so frustrated because prior to that happening, I was always so celebratory around the fact that I was able to heal so quickly. And for some reason, I had this situation happen. People externally were like, oh, it was minor, it wasn't a big deal. Like, why are you still struggling with it for so long? And truth is, I didn't really have a clear answer other than that that's exactly what my experience was. So rewind. The reason why I'm popping on for this video is because I had such an amazing experience last week. And it's interesting how sometimes our mind can be really helpful, and other times it can kind of be like a barrier or a block to our healing. And I was walking in the forest, and there was like freezing rain that had happened, and then there was snow on top. And I'm a frequent walker, frolicker in the forest. And I always wear really great boots with really great traction and tread on them. And I'm careful. I'm very present when I'm walking in the forest. But I was in a different spot than I normally go. And I was kind of walking, where I was like meditating while I walk. It's sort of one of the things I do. And I said something, and I had this slip, and I just put my hand down to like stop myself from falling. And before I even realized what happened, I was back on my feet walking. So I didn't actually fall. I just had like a little slip, boop, and bounced back up. And right away, my mind was like having ideas about what happened. I was really grateful that I didn't hurt my wrist or my hand, because I put that down to support myself and help myself up. And I was quite impressed that I actually didn't really have any effects. Well, 2 days later, I woke up feeling fine, and I do a regular yoga practice where I do 108 frogs every day. If you know Kundalini yoga, you know what I mean. And then I do like a moving meditation kriya called Karam Param Daram. And it's sort of a flow through 4 different exercises, but you're standing up, or 4 different positions, but you're standing and moving through the sequence, one leg and then the other, and you just keep going like that. I do it for like 12 minutes a day. And it's so interesting because I did my frogs and I was fine. And then I had this like profound message, like this poem coming through. And so I was like, oh, I need to record that. So I was in this kind of leaning forward, child's pose-ish posture. My cat was laying on my arm, and I'm attempting to write out this poem that was coming through me. And I finished that, and then I go to stand and do my kriya. And as soon as I stand back, I have significant pain in my sacrum. And by significant pain, I mean like it almost like caused me to stop breathing for a second. I was like, oh my goodness. It was like sharp pain. And then I was super confused because I'm like, how did I just do frogs and I didn't feel anything when I got up? So I did some of the yoga therapy stuff that I know, and like zero back extension was acceptable for my body. And any of the things I attempted to do made it so much more angry. And so I went through and I did Karam Param Daram the best I could because it's part of a 1,000-day practice and I still have 10 more months to go. And then I rested. And I saw my massage therapist. Was it later that same day? Yeah, I think it was. And he said, oh my gosh, like your sacrum's not moving at all. And I was like, yes, it's quite painful. And at that point, it was like a dull ache. Might have been the next day. Anyway, I can't remember. And after the massage, it actually felt quite a bit better, but it was still not really wanting to do any back extension. And then that was like Thursday, I think. And then by Tuesday, like I had to teach yoga on Monday, 2 classes, which normally I don't. I just teach 1 a day. And then the day after that, the reason why I was doing 2 in 1 day is because I started yoga therapy, Kundalini yoga therapy teacher training, Kundalini yoga therapy training. And of course, we were working on the navel for the whole training for 6 days. And the first Kriya that we did that first morning, he's like, come into stretch pose. And if you haven't done Kundalini yoga, I used to refer to stretch pose as my nemesis because even though like in kickboxing, we did a lot of core stuff, leg lifts, crisscrosses, like jackknives, like all of the things, I still found stretch pose really hard. And basically what it is you lay flat on your back, your feet come up 6 inches and your head comes up 6 inches and your chin is sort of toward your chest. And then your eyes are open and you're looking at your toes. So you're sort of making like this, that's a terrible demonstration, but like a curve, right? And then your arms are straight at your sides, parallel to the ground. And then you add breath of fire. And breath of fire is a simple kind of pumping of the navel. It's simple, yet can be quite challenging, especially when you're in a position where you're using your navel to stay in that position. And ideally, we're staying relaxed while we do it in Kundalini yoga. And I say we because I'm talking on behalf of Kundalini yoga as a practice modality, whatever. And as a lineage, we as a lineage. And it's interesting because he's like, come into stretch pose. And my mind was like, oh, stretch pose is probably going to aggravate my back because I have a sore back. And then something overrode that and was like, do stretch pose anyway. And I was like, okay. So I'm on my back. I'm doing stretch pose. We get a minute into it. And I'm like super impressed with myself that I did a minute because it's hard. And he goes, we're going for the full 3 minutes. And my mind was like, it's okay to take a break. You have a sore back. Like you have a reason. And so I took a little rest and I came back into it, took a rest, came back into it. And I kept doing that until the 3 minutes was up. And yet I never modified it. I didn't put my hands under my buttocks to support my lower back. I just kept doing the full expression of stretch pose. And then the next day, we did stretch pose again. And then the next day, we did stretch pose again. And then we did a whole afternoon of learning how to do stretch pose properly in sort of like a session on like proper technique, I guess. And then you get the point. We did lots of stretch pose for 6 days straight, at least once a day. And then all of a sudden, the day after the training, so yesterday, the training finished yesterday, I went to go do my practice, and I was like, oh my gosh, that pain is like totally gone. Oh, it was because I was teaching on Monday night, and we do a lot of back extension stuff in yin yoga. And I was like, I have zero pain. Did stretch pose actually heal what was going on with my sacrum? And so I taught Kundalini today at the place that I teach, and I was telling the guys about it, and I said, don't worry, we're not going to do stretch pose. But isn't this amazing? Like logically, my mind is like, if your back is sore, don't do things that might stress your back. As a health and safety professional in my previous life, as a yoga teacher, as a yoga therapist, pushing your body isn't something that we're taught to do. We're taught to listen to our body. We're taught to have self-compassion. We're taught to listen and adjust and take care of ourselves. And then in Kundalini Yoga, there's this, I don't even know what it is, but it's this concept of activating your healing potential from within. And we do a lot of things that look hard on the outside. And even the guys that I teach, they're like, oh, this looks hard, I'm not doing it. Or this is intense. Or wow, like this is yoga. And I refer to it as like the martial arts of yoga, because a lot of the stuff that we do, it's very precise. It requires you to really kind of push through, because there are definitely times when your mind is like, we need to stop doing this. Like we've had enough. And yet going through it anyway has so many healing therapeutic benefits. And then I thought to myself, like, is it because we were doing it in a group of yoga therapists or people who are studying yoga therapy? And as someone who's already studied yoga therapy on a more like physical standpoint with fascia and meditation, this Kundalini yoga therapy is a different perspective. It involves like traditional Chinese medicine and other aspects to it. Is it because of the people in the group? Is it because I'm connecting with my own inner source of healing? Is it a combination of things? Is it stretch pose? So I just find it really interesting because it sort of defies logic when things happen. And as someone who's had prior neck injury, stretch pose was really aggravating because you have to keep your head up. And I don't know if you noticed, but your head's heavy. And like your nails are already stressed because your legs are in the air. So also having your head in the air just seems a bit much. And yet somehow it healed my sacrum. And I'm certain that that's what it was. And now I'm continuing. I'm doing stretch pose for a minute every day on my own as part of my morning practice, because why not? Anyway, I popped on here to say that, but as I was talking, I was like, I miss teaching Kundalini Yoga and having a regular community. is where I teach right now. People come and then they go to a program and they're only involved in it for 4 or 5 weeks. And then new people come. And I will love to offer a space where we have community and we do meditations as a group and we are healing together. And my heart is telling me to start doing this Fridays at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and making it available the recording if people are unable to attend in person. Yeah, that's what feels right for me. Fridays at 2 p.m. So if this is something that interests you and if you're still here with me through my long-winded story, I will put my email in the description box below, and I would love to hear from you. And if you have no idea what Kundalini Yoga is, I would love to introduce you to a practice that has changed my life in so many ways. And more importantly, a space where we can have community and connection, even if it is virtually. The main focus is healing. So thank you so much for being here. If you have a story you want to share, anything about this, in the comments below. I always love to read your experiences, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. So much love. Thank you for being here, and thank you for being